Hi, I'm Rotaract Silva and I will be doing grade 9 science for you. And Charan, if there's any question you want to ask me regarding grade 9 science syllabus, you can just type it in the YouTube comment section and I'll get back to y'all with the answers as soon as I see them. Okay, so I'll be screen sharing your local textbook, and today I will be covering the first lesson for y'all, which is microorganism. Okay, so I hope y'all can see my screen well. So the first lesson is applications of microorganisms, and there we have 3 subtopics when we talk about microorganisms. The first one is the definition of them. Second one is environments and substrates of microorganisms, whereas the third one is effects of microorganisms. So let's move on to the first one. Okay, I'll start off with a very small question. Okay, I'm so sure that you have already done this specific lesson at school. What is, like, who are microorganisms? I'll give the answer of that as well. Organisms are divided into mainly 2 main parts as microorganisms and macroorganisms. Okay, organisms are divided into microorganisms and macroorganisms. Macroorganisms are the organisms who are like us. Okay, so you can see them vividly even with our naked eyes without using any kind of microscopes. You can see them very clearly. Just imagine you're talking with your friend, okay, and then you see an elephant passing by. Okay, you'll be able to see that elephant. Okay, so that elephant is a macroorganism. Microorganisms in the is the opposite of macroorganisms. Okay, you can't see them with the naked eye. And what do you mean by naked eye? Naked eye means without using any kind of scientific instruments. Just with your eyes, you can't see a microorganism. Okay. Okay, let's start off with this. Microorganisms live in our environment as well as in our body. Okay, so when we talk about microorganisms, microorganisms are literally everywhere. Okay, we have microorganisms, we have bacteria inside our body, and also we have microorganisms. Microorganisms can be there inside your tea as well. Okay, if you keep your morning tea open for even for seconds, okay, you can see flies coming and flying around your tea, and you will just shoo them off. Okay, those are you can see them, but there are bacteria as well. You can't even see them, but they will get in contact with your morning tea. So guys, microorganisms, they are everywhere inside your body. They can be inside your body. They are actually inside our intestine as well. You know what an intestine is, right? The stomach. So they are inside our body and also in our environment. Most microorganisms are favorable to humans and other living beings, but some are harmful. What do you mean by the term favorable? Favorable is it's good. Most of the microorganisms are good for us. Okay, there are some benefits that we can gain out of them, and we'll be discussing the benefits and the adverse effects of microorganisms in the latter part of this lesson. So anyways, most microorganisms are good. Okay, we can get some kind of advantages out of them. But on the other hand, there are some harmful effects of microorganisms as well. One such example is coronavirus, where a lot of people are dying because of that. Okay. So likewise, there are benefits and also disadvantages. Microorganisms are widespread and common species category of living organisms on Earth. So that's what I told you. There are living organisms on Earth, and they are widespread. They are everywhere. Okay, they are a group of living organisms with a simple structure. What do you mean by a simple structure? It's like the structure of them. Okay, the cellular structure of them is really simple. But when we talk about, let's take us for an example. Okay, we have a very complex structure. Why did I say that we have a complex structure? Because we have organs, tissues, systems which are really complicated. You know, we have a very complex and a complicated structure, whereas microorganisms, they have a very simple structure. Okay, they grow fast and have high rate of reproduction. Okay, so now that is a very unique and a very specific feature of them, which is, you know, they grow really fast. Let's take that teacup example again. If you keep a tea open even for a few seconds, the number of microorganisms, the number of bacteria inside it can replicate, okay, can multiply itself into so many times. Okay, so that is how fast they grow, and that is how fast they reproduce. That is why virus infections, bacterial infections, okay, they, you know, get spreaded from one person to another. Okay, microorganisms have the ability to adapt for different environmental conditions and modes of nutrition. That also we'll be discussing in the latter part of this lesson, where they can be in any kind of environmental conditions. Okay, there are some bacteria, they can live in the extremes of weather conditions, you know, extremes of climates. They can live in very hot climates, as well as they can live in the opposite of it. Okay, and they have different modes of nutrition. The way they get the nutritions are also different from the microorganism to microorganism. And this unicellular and some of the multicellular organisms can be seen in microorganism category. So a lot of students, and I myself, I mean a lot of people, I guess, when we hear the term microorganisms, they kind of get confused whether microorganisms the ones who are unicellular organisms. You know, they have this specific question. Okay, but that is not correct, because there are microorganisms who are unicellular, and also there are microorganisms who are multicellular as well. Okay, so we have that specific classification in this lesson. I'll be teaching you all that. Yeah, so unicellular is they just have one cell. Multicellular is that they have a lot of cells. So you can't define the term microorganism by using unicellular term and multicellular term. Why? Because there are microorganisms who belong to the unicellular category and as well as to the multicellular category. So you can't use that specific definition in order to tell who microorganisms are. So the correct and simple definition you can use to explain who microorganisms are is, microorganisms are the organisms who cannot be seen to the naked eye. Okay, but they can be unicellular organisms, and also they can be multicellular organisms. These microorganisms can be categorized into groups as bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoa. So I want you all to highlight those terms, because this whole lesson is based on those type of microorganisms. Viruses, which are a group in between the living and non-living, are also studied under microorganisms. Now children, so bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoa, they are microorganisms. Okay, no issues We have enough proof to tell them, tell that they are microorganisms. But the issue is when it comes to viruses, we can't be so sure into which category we should put viruses into. Whether we should tell that viruses belong into the category of living organisms or into the non-living organisms. Okay, so we'll be analyzing why we say so in this lesson. I'll teach you all that. Okay, for now, just keep in mind that viruses, they are classified as living organisms who are microorganisms, and they are also categorized into uh, specific non-living category organisms as well. Okay, so now this is the table which shows the characteristics and some examples of the microorganism types. Let's move on to bacteria, which is very, very famous and a lot of people know who bacteria are. Okay. Characteristics are, children, they are unicellular and microscopic. What do you mean by microscopic? You can see them with the use of a microscope, and they are unicellular. Unicellular. They just have one cell. They have different body shapes. Okay, they have coccus, bacillus, spirillum, and uh, you know there are four types of micro. There are four types of categories when it comes to the shape of bacteria. And when you talk about examples, okay, let's move on to their environment. They are widely spread in every type of environment on Earth. That's what I told you. They can be seen even at the extremes of climate as well. They can literally exist anywhere. Okay. Examples would be milk products, and the type of bacteria we use for the milk products are Lactobacillus bulgaricus. Okay, and the other thing is anthrax disease. Okay, now that's a disease, children, and that is being caused by Bacillus anthracis. Also, bacteria are used in vinegar production, and the type of bacteria that is being used for vinegar production is Acetobacter aceti. Also, I think you have heard about cholera disease. Who causes cholera disease? Vibrio cholerae. Okay. So now, when we take this specific table, there are two favorable effects of bacteria and two unfavorable adverse effects we get from bacteria. Okay. So one is they are being used to produce some kind of dairy products, and also at the same time we get diseases because of them. Okay. And then we take fungi. They are unicellular and also multicellular. Okay, so there are fungi who are unicellular and there are fungi who are multicellular. Reproductive organs of some fungi can be seen with the naked eye. Now, children, fungi is a microorganism. Okay, no issue. We just discussed about that part in the first page. Okay, they belong into the category of microorganisms. But let me tell you this: mushroom, like mushroom, the reproductive organs of some fungi, they can be seen with the naked eye. Y'all can see mushroom, right? So that is one good example to prove this point where the reproductive organisms, the organs can be seen with the naked eye. Naked eye is again just with your eyes, okay, without using any kind of microscopes. And also they thrive on moist surfaces, which means most of the fungi, they are substrate as in children, to the surface in which they are attached to. Most of the time they are moist surfaces, not dry but moist surfaces. And examples are, there can be fungi on bed like mucor and yeast. is a very good example for fungi because when I was small, as soon as I hear the word fungi, what came into my mind was yeast, okay, which is Saccharomyces. And then protozoa, they are unicellular and microscopic, and they use structures such as cilia, pseudopodia, flagella for locomotion. So children, how do we locomote? Like how do we move from one place to one? Okay, first of all, tell me what locomotion is. What is locomotion? Locomotion is moving from one place to another. Okay, so if I walk from here to there, that is locomotion. Okay, moving is different. Moving is now I'm moving. My hands are moving. I'm moving. My head is moving. That is moving. Locomotion is you're changing the place. Okay, I'm walking from here to there. That is locomotion. So how do we locomote? How do we as humans locomote? We use our legs. We walk, and that's how locomotion happens. Okay. So likewise, how does this specific type of microorganisms locomote? With structures like cilia, pseudopodia, and flagella. Cilia are children small. Uh, you can't call them fibers, but can they? Okay, you know, those are cilia. Okay, so the way they locomote is, just imagine now this is the specific protozoa. Okay, so what it does is, you know, just imagine this. My hands are the cilia. It has a lot of cilia. That's how they move from one place to another. Okay, and pseudopodia, pseudo. The word pseudo means fake. Okay, so pods means legs. So pseudopodia means fake legs. Okay, they don't have legs like we do, but they have fake legs. Now, if you take this amoeba, you can see, right? You know, there are, it seems to be legs, but they are not legs. Those are what we call as pseudopods. So with the use of this, they locomote. And the other thing is flagella. Flagella is like a nectar kind of thing. So it's like a tail. You know, you can swim using it. You know, not swim, but you know, move using that. A very small structure. They live in aquatic environments as well as in other organisms. Okay, so there are diseases caused by this specific organisms as well. We'll be talking it when we talk about the adverse effects. Okay, so some examples of protozoa are amoeba, paramecium, euglena, and plasmodium. So if you take amoeba, children, amoeba uses pseudopodia. Now I want you to write in front of amoeba, the structure amoeba use is pseudopodia. And the paramecium, that specific type of protozoa use cilia, okay? And euglena, it uses the structure flagella. You can, you know, see it in this diagram as well. When you closely observe, you know, you'll be able to see it. Okay, so now this is a picture where the red blood cells of us are infected by plasmodium, which is also a protozoa. Okay, next one is algae. Okay, they are unicellular or multicellular. Quickly, just recall the first page. You know, the second page. There was another organism we found who are, you know, they have unicellular and multicellular characteristics. What was that? If fungi came into your mind right now, then you are super. Okay. So yeah, like algae, fungi also had unicellular and multicellular characteristics. So it's the same with algae. They have unicellular and multicellular organisms. They have a filamentous or thallus body forms. What do you mean by filamentous? Filamentous is, children, they have filaments in their body. Okay, and thallus is that their body is not differentiated into true roots, stems, and their body is not differentiated into those parts. Now, if we take a tree, a mango tree, they do not have a thallus body. They have a well differentiated, a true plant body. Okay, but a thallus body is when that specific plant species or that specific organism do not have a differentiated body. Okay, අර ඇත්ත විදිහට differentiate කරලා නැහැ. ගස්, ඒ කියන්නේ ගහේ මුල්, අතු, roots and all, they're not differentiated well. Microscopic algae floating on the water surface are called as phytoplanktons. So if you get a question in the exam paper, who are phytoplanktons? Who are phytoplanktons, children? They are the microscopic algae and they are floating on the water surface. සමහරවිට අර වතුරේ කොළ පාටට වගේ පේන්නේ ඒ ෆයිටෝප්ලැන්ක්ටන්ස්ලා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඉන්නේ. හරිද? දැන් ඔන්න ඔයාලා දන්නවා දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ නිකන් හරි දැක්කත් වතුරේ තියෙන අර කොළ පාට පාවි මොන හරි chances are more that it could be phytoplanktons. Okay, and they have chlorophyll and have the ability to photosynthesis. What is chlorophyll, children? What is chlorophyll? So chlorophyll is a green color pigment which is present in plants and also in algae. Why do plants have chlorophyll? To do photosynthesis. So I hope you know what photosynthesis is, because you know from a very small age, I think from grade 6 or 7, we were supposed to learn what photosynthesis is, right? So photosynthesis is the process where green plants produce food. Okay, green plants produce food with the use of sunlight and chlorophyll. Okay, so I hope you all can remember the equation as well. How does this happen? How does this process occur? Carbon dioxide plus water, and you put an arrow right like this. On the top of the arrow, you write sunlight, because you need sunlight in order to do photosynthesis. And at the bottom of the arrow, you write chlorophyll, because you need chlorophyll to do photosynthesis. And what is the main product you get out of photosynthesis? Is glucose, C6H12O6. Okay, you get glucose. Also, now that is the main product, which is food, glucose, food. And there's a byproduct as well. What is that? Oxygen. Okay, so now that is photosynthesis. If the chemical equation of photosynthesis is too hard for y'all for now, let's just stick with the word definition. Photosynthesis is the process of forming food with the use of sunlight and the pigment chlorophyll. So that is photosynthesis. Okay, so green plants most of the time they produce food, and also algae is fully capable of doing it, because they have this pigment, the green color pigment called chlorophyll. Algal varieties such as ulva are visible to the naked eye, and one good thing about this is, good as in one unique feature of algae is that some varieties which they have given the example as ulva, they are visible to the naked eye. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම ඇහැට පේනවා. දැන් අපි micro-organisms ලා කිව්වේ අපේ ඇත්තටම ඇහැට පේන්නේ නැහැ, but අපි microscope එකක් use කරන්න ඕනේ ඒගොල්ලන්ව බලන්න. Right? That's how it is, right? Micro-organisms, you can't see them with the naked eye. But algae, most of the time, you know, like literally a lot of examples are microscopic, but there are some algal varieties as ulva that can be seen to the naked eye as well. Some examples of algal varieties are Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, and diatoms. Okay. And here we come to viruses. Okay. I hope you all can remember in the first page when we were, defining who microorganisms were, and when I was telling you all that microorganisms can be seen literally everywhere on the planet. And then I told you about the types of microorganisms. Then I moved on to this virus part where I told you they show weird characteristics. Okay, they have living characteristics and also non-living characteristics. So let's read and I'll explain you. Okay, they are electron microscopic, really, really, really small. You can't see it with your eye. They display living and non-living characteristics. Children, it's better if you can highlight that part. Okay, multiply only inside the living cells. Okay. Okay. What that means is, children, now I told you that they show both living characteristics and non-living characteristics. Okay. One reason why we say that they are living is because they can actually reproduce. Okay, they can multiply themselves. But the thing is, they can't multiply with their own. Now just imagine there's a virus on my hand here, just on the surface. Let's say on my table maybe. It can't multiply itself just by being on the table. They have to enter into a living cell. That specific virus, I'm just saying that there's a specific virus on my table, assuming that there's a specific virus on my table. In order for it to multiply itself, it should enter into my body. Okay, that's how they can reproduce. That's how they can multiply themselves. Okay, so that's the exact scenario with coronavirus, COVID-19, the virus, coronavirus. Okay, so in order for them to reproduce, they have to get into a living cell. For them, it's the human body. Yeah. Why do we say that they are non-living then? Because just because they reproduce, we can't classify an organism as a living organism. You can't do that. Okay, because a living organism should be fully capable of growth, of nutrition, of sometimes locomotion or movement. And there are some characteristics like that. Okay, so why we say viruses are non-living is because, one, they do not show any cellular, they don't have a cellular organization. They don't have, hariයට cell එක organize වෙලා නැහැ. Okay, and the other thing is they do not show the living characteristics such as respiration and growth. Growth අමතක කරන්නකො, respiration අනිවාර්යෙන් තියෙන්න එපා living organism එකකටනේ. එතකොට virus ලා respiration පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙනම් ඒ වගේ like major characteristics that should be vividly shown, that should be there in living organisms. If we can't see them in viruses, we can't say that they are living organisms. That there is an issue. I mean, we don't have enough evidence. We can't categorize them into living or non-living. Okay. So examples are influenza, HIV, Ebola virus, and dengue virus. So those are some diseases that have been caused by virus. Okay. The next one is environments and substrates of microorganisms. Microorganisms live within all the ecosystems on the earth where other living organisms survive. That is what I told you. Wherever someone could survive, microorganisms, there are no hard and fast rules or features they want the environment to have, because they can literally live anywhere. Okay. microbial world spreads among soil, water, and for about 6 kilometers of the atmosphere. Atmosphere is a kilometer high. You know, they can be there up. These organisms survive even on and within the body of plants and animals. That is exactly what I told you. It can be on our body, like, you know, on our skin, or else it can be inside our body, like inside our intestine, inside the respiratory tract. Okay, tract, or else maybe inside our esophagus, where our food travels, and it can be anywhere, not just in animals like us, because humans are animals according to science, even in plants. Okay, meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, human skins, mouth, alimentary canal, urinary tract are some specific substrates that microorganisms grow. That is what I told you. Microorganisms can survive even under extreme environmental conditions. Hot water springs, salt marshes, liquids such as petrol and diesel are some such environments. So, what do you mean by extreme environmental conditions? It can then us, you know, we can live in a live in an environment where the temperature is a bit high. Okay. Sometimes we can live in an environment where the temperature is a bit low and a bit high. Okay. But microorganisms, microbes are also microorganisms. Okay. It's another name for microorganisms. So microbes or microorganisms, they can literally live anywhere. ගොඩක් high temperature එකක ඉන්නත් පුළුවන්, ගොඩක් low temperature එකක ඉන්නත් පුළුවන්, ඕනම environmental condition එකක ඉන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? So that is why they are scary, because they can live everywhere. And now we are we are going to talk about the effects of microorganisms. Okay, what do you mean by effects? Effects කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Then අපි තුමු effects of COVID-19 මොනවාද? People die, and here we are at home. You know, we can't go out. We are scared to go out, and some actually get, you know, they do suffer from COVID, and some, you know, die because of it. There are people who are suffering. There are people who can't travel. There are people who can't, you know, get their finance, you know, get money, you know, earn. Okay, so those are some bad effects of COVID-19 on us. Okay, we have to suffer because of it. There are just unfavorable effects. Okay, so likewise, there are effects of microorganisms, but here, as we are talking about microorganisms as a whole, there are microorganisms who are good, and also there are microorganisms who are bad. Okay, so we are going to discuss that. Microorganisms have been used in different industries by human from the past. So from the past, okay, humans have been using microorganisms in order to do their daily, you know, industrial functions. Okay, it's not something which came out of the blue, you know, yesterday or today. No, but it was there from the past. Microorganisms are beneficial for the environmental equilibrium. Environment again, yeah, to have a balance in the environment, also we need microorganisms. But also they can be harmful to humans because some of them act as pathogens and some spoil food. Pathogens, what do you mean? Who are pathogens? They are the type who causes diseases, who spreads diseases. Okay, and spoil food. Okay, why? You know, just imagine, children, you keep a piece of bread, okay, out for about 2 to 3 days. What will happen to that piece of bread? What will happen to it? it will be spoiled. Can you eat it again? No, you can't. Because why? It will be spoiled, and that is because of microorganisms. Okay. Unless you keep it in the fridge, I'm talking about the outside environment. Keep the slice of bread outside. Okay. Beneficial effects of microorganisms. So now we are going to move on to the good effects. Then let's talk about the bad effects. It's always good to talk about the good things first now. So let's talk about the the beneficial effects of microorganisms. Microorganisms are used in agriculture, medicine, conservation of environment, and different kinds of industries in seek of economical advantages and for research purposes. Here we will investigate how they are being used in different fields. Okay, now if a question comes for y'all in the exam, what are the types of field where microorganisms can give benefits to? Now these are the fields, children. Underline or highlight: agriculture, second one is medicine, third one is conservation of environment. What do you mean by conservation of environment? What do you mean by conserving? Conserving is you're using something but in a very good manner, in a very organized manner, so that the future generations could also use it. What do you mean by conserving? What do you mean by conservation of water? You're not wasting water, but does that mean you don't use water at all? No. Conserving is you use it, okay, but you don't waste it, because you know you have to keep that resource, that specific resource for the future generation as well. So that is exactly what conservation of environment is as well. You take uses from the environment, but you keep in mind that you have to keep this for the future generation as well. So in the process of conserving the environment, there are times we can use microorganisms, and we'll be talking about it. And also in different industries to get economical advantage. What do you mean by economical advantage? Economical advantage is economical wise, you can get advantages because you use microorganisms. You can use, you can do that specific thing related to that industry without using microorganisms as well. හැබැයි ඊට වඩා හොඳ ඇඩ්වාන්ටේජ් එකක් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් ඉකොනොමි එක විදිහට, ආර්ථිකය විදිහට, ආර්ථිකමය විදිහට මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ අපි microorganisms ලා use කරනවා. Okay, so we can do that specific thing without microorganisms, but if you use microorganisms and do it, you get advantages. Like අරකට වඩා හොඳයි microorganisms ලා use කරලා අපි industry එක කරගෙන ඉන්නේ. Okay, so we'll be talking. First, let's talk about the agriculture field. There are 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 advantages that have been rendered by the microorganisms into the agriculture field. Sorry, not 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. First one is you use microorganisms in gene technology, nitrogen fixation, producing compost and biopesticides. මේ හතර තමයි agriculture එකට අදාළව microorganisms ලා use වෙන්න තියෙන ඒවා. Okay, so let's talk about gene technology. In agriculture, crop harvest is enhanced and enriched by producing drought-resistant and pest-resistant crops and crops with high nutrients and taste with the aid of microorganisms. That means, children, so with the use of microorganisms, you can make crops, you can produce crops which are better ones. Okay, you can make crops which are drought resistant. Drought even in a time of a drought, those crops can resist and survive. Okay, why? Because with the use of microorganisms, you change its genes, you alter the way their genes are, and you make kind of not fully artificial, but then you make new crops, okay, and pest resistant crops. You can pest like you know, these crops can resist, you know, just because of pests, those crops won't die. Okay, and also with the use of microorganisms, we can make crops with high nutrients. Microorganisms are used, and you can increase the taste as well. Okay, and also biological pesticides and weedicides, which are being used by farmers and other agricultural people, are also used by microorganisms. Okay, so in order to protect the harvest, in order to protect the crops, okay, there are times we will have to use weedicides and pesticides, and most of the time they are being produced with the aid. What do you mean by aid? With the help, okay, with the help of microorganisms. So there are two examples given, practical world examples. It's good if you can, you know, highlight them. One is genes of bacterium Erwinia uredovara is used in developing golden rice enriched with vitamin A. Okay, now children, there is okay, there are two pictures here. The white one is the normal rice. You have seen it for sure. And this is golden rice. Okay, normal rice, the issue is there was an issue. The issue was it didn't have much vitamin A. So when people of some regions, when they consume normal rice, they, you know, they start to suffer from vitamin A deficiency. Vitamin A and so what did people do? They used the genes of this bacterium known as Erwinia uridavara, and they developed golden rice. Now in golden rice, vitamin A is there. Okay, how is this like how did this happen? First they, you know, they because of from the genes of this bacterium, they produced beta carotene. Beta carotene was given to the rice. Beta carotene was, you know, with the use of that beta carotene itself, we got vitamin A. Okay, that's how vitamin A was produced. You know, vitamin A was given to the golden rice. Okay. The next one is genes of the bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis is muted in Z maize genome to produce toxins to crop pests. Okay? Now, these genes of this bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis, it is been you know, it has been very called joined with Z maize. Why? To produce toxins to crop pests. Pests කියන්නේ crops විනාශ කරන ඒ pest ලා කියන්නේ ඒ සතුන්ට. But for that they use the genes of this bacterium. So now these are real world, practical world examples. What are those? The first one is they made golden rice because normal rice was you know, normal rice did not have vitamin A, but in golden rice, normal rice did not have vitamin A, but golden rice has vitamin A, where it got from beta carotene, which is produced by the genes of this bacterium Erwinia uridavara. Okay, so the next factor of nitrogen fixation is the favorable effects of microorganisms is nitrogen fixation. Okay, so I hope you all know nitrogen is the gas which is there in the atmosphere in a bigger percentage. Okay, so children, even though 78% of nitrogen exists naturally in the atmosphere, plants have a limited ability to absorb it directly. there might be, there are like the percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere is really high. It's really huge, super huge. But can plants absorb them even though 78% of the atmosphere is covered by nitrogen? Can plant absorb them? Will it be an easy task? No, right? It won't be. So that is why, children, now this thing is very important because of that. Okay, so even though the atmosphere is filled with 78% of nitrogen, it's hard for the plants to absorb it directly. But rhizobium, it is a type of bacteria that lives in the nodules of legumes. The picture is here, such as beans and peas, has the ability to absorb atmospheric nitrogen directly. Okay, but there's this bacterium called rhizobium who are existing in the nodules of the legumes. What are the plants who has this? Which has this? Beans and peas. Okay, so the bacteria who's known as rhizobium living in these legumes can directly absorb nitrogen from the atmosphere, and this is known as nitrogen fixation. So if the question says define what nitrogen fixation is, what is nitrogen fixation? The process of the bacterium rhizobium, who is a type of bacteria that living in the nodules of legume plants such as beans and peas, absorbing nitrogen directly from the atmosphere is known as nitrogen fixation. Okay, so rhizobium can be commercially produced as well in order to increase the yield of legumes. Okay, and there is a nitrogen fixing bacteria, a free living nitrogen fixing bacteria who have been added to the cultivation lands known as Acetobacter, and they are known as biofertilizers. Okay, so that this question, it used to appear in our times as well, so it might be a very special question for y'all as well. Acetobacter, they used to give MCQs like out of the following, who is a free living nitrogen fixing bacteria? Okay, so now we all know the answer. Who is the free living nitrogen fixing bacteria who is very famous in your grade? Acetobacter. Okay, and what are biofertilizers, students? They are the substances which make the soil rich with nutrients by using microorganisms. Microorganisms like use kala hasa saruවත් කරන්න පුළුවන් දේවල් දෙයක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ දෙයට කියන අපි biofertilizers කියලා. Biofertilizers හදන්නේ microorganisms ලා use කරලා. ඇයි? To make the soil rich with nutrients. Okay, and then we have producing compost, which is really easy. So it is being prepared by rapid decomposition of organic matter by microorganisms. Decomposition can decay කරනවා. Organic matter කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට animal body parts, plant body parts හින්දා ඒවා decompose වෙලා හැදෙන ඒවට තමයි organic matter කියන්නේ. So එහෙම ගොඩක් අය දන්නනේ compost හදන්නේ එහෙමයි කියලා, with plant leaves, dry leaves and all. The compost adds mineral to the soil systematically and makes favorable conditions for plants to grow. That you all know. That is the use of compost. Okay, why do people use compost? So that they could add minerals to the soil externally in order to make it a very favorable environment, a very favorable condition for the plants to grow. Okay. So the organic matter are most of the time decomposed by two types of main microorganisms, who are bacteria and fungi. Underline it because there might be a question asking you out of the following microorganisms, what are the two types of microorganisms who help in decomposing organic matter in order to make compost? So who are the two? Bacteria and fungi. Okay. Next one is biopesticides. Biopesticides are used to control insect pests that cause damage to the crops. Crops විනාශ කරන එන insects ලා. හරිද? ඒගොල්ලන්ව විනාශ කරන්න තමයි biopesticides use කරන්නේ to control them. That is easy. So biopesticides කියන්නේ මොනවද? They are the substances which are being used to control the pests who are also insects that cause damage to the crops. Okay. Example is the fungal alternaria is used to combat can fight against. Okay. The aquatic weed salvinia කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. I think ඒක මේවා කරන්න තමයි නැති කරන්න තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ alternaria කියන fungus එක දාන්නේ. හරිද? එතකොට fungus කියන්නේ microorganism එකක් නේ. ඒක තමයි මම කියන්නේ ඒක benefit එකක්. So that's it about the agricultural field. Now let's move on to the medicine field. Okay, microorganisms are really important in the medicine field to produce antibiotics, vaccines, and antitoxins. Okay, I think you might have heard about this because අපිට microorganism එකක් හින්දා ලෙඩක් හදනවා නම් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට microorganism එකක් හින්දාම තමයි ඒ ලෙඩේ නැති කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. Okay? Antibiotics කියන්නේ මොනවාද? ගොඩක් අර now just imagine if you get a disease, just imagine you get sick. Okay? So what does the doctor prescribes you? Go and take this antibiotics and you will be okay. That's what they say, right? So antibiotics are used to cure some diseases, but you have to always keep in mind, children, antibiotics cannot be used for viruses. If antibiotics can be used for viruses, will be cured with COVID-19 by now, coronavirus by now. Because why is it so hard for the scientists and those people to eliminate coronavirus, this virus? Why? Because it's a virus and virus cannot be just eliminated or can be cured or healed with the use of antibiotics. Okay, keep that in mind. Antibiotics for viruses. Okay, no antibiotics for viruses. Okay, let's move on to the definition. Chemicals produced in the body of a microbe to destroy or sabotage another microorganism are known as antibiotics. So if you get a disease because of a microorganism, a very good way to eliminate it or to cure is using another type of microorganism. Okay, so antibiotics, it's the same here. You use chemical, you use a chemical produced in a microorganism in order to destroy or sabotage. Sabotage is also damage, destroy. Okay, in order to destroy another microorganism. Okay, now just imagine this is microorganism A, this is microorganism B. Now this microorganism enters into our body, into our intestine, let's say, and then I get this bacterial infection. Okay, just imagine that I have a bacterial infection. How am I going to be treated? Now there is going to be an antibiotic with bacteria A. Bacteria A's chemicals which are being produced in this bacteria A. Bacteria A's chemicals, body chemicals, they are being used to destroy the microorganism who is causing diseases inside my intestine. Okay, so that is how it is happening. Fungi and bacteria are used to produce antibiotics. Yes, fungi, bacteria are used to antibiotics. And antibiotics can be therefore used to, it can be used to kill bacteria and fungi. But like I told you, that cannot be used to fight against infections caused by virus. Highlighted because it's a very important point that you all have to keep in mind. Forget about grade 9 science. It's something you all have to keep in mind. It's normal science. Okay. all the antibiotics are not much harmful to humans. They can cause side effects if used without medical advice. That is why we have been always advised to use the antibiotics which are being prescribed by a clinical doctor. Okay, you can't just, just imagine I have a very big stomach ache, and my friend also, that person is also suffering from a stomach ache. Just because my doctor gave me this specific antibiotic, I can't be like, hey, oh, your stomach is paining. Okay, I got this medicine. This doctor gave me this medicine. You can use it as well. I can't say like that. Nor can my friend use it just because I told that person to. Okay, because just because my doctor asked me to take that, it might not be good for that friend of mine. So always when we use antibiotics, we have to be so careful, and we have to always use what we are being prescribed to. Okay. Penicillin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, and erythromycin are used against bacterial infections, while glycofulvin is used against fungal infections. So penicillin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, and erythromycin, they have been used for the diseases, the infections caused by bacteria, and glycofulvin is used for the infections caused by fungi. Okay, now this is a very small, what do you call, an important point for extra knowledge. So, antibiotic penicillin was discovered by a Scottish scientist known as Alexander Fleming. Underline Alexander Fleming. It's easy to keep in mind because Fleming, and penicillin, so y'all can keep that in mind, right? So, how did he produce this? Using a fungus known as Penicillium notatum. ඒක use කළ තමයි මේක හදුවේ. And the other one is producing vaccines. What you know what vaccines are, right? Are injections. You know, even we get vaccines for certain diseases from, I think, from very small age. Yeah. So a vaccine is typically can normally. Okay. A vaccine typically contains an agent that resembles a disease-causing microorganism and is often made from weakened or killed forms of the microbe or from its toxins. So this is the same, a bit like antibodies. So vaccines have been made out of microorganisms. There are 4 types of microorganisms. 4 types of vaccines. Depending on the type of the form of microorganism that are being used. Okay, so if you take the first one, there are vaccines made from weakened microbes. Again, these microbes, they can't have a very active, what do you call, a very active metabolism. Weak velatine. These microorganisms, they've been weakened. So a weakened microbes are used you make the vaccines. Okay, in order to, why do you use it? In order to help them get protected from another type of microorganism. And so polio, tuberculosis, measles, vaccines from weakened microbes. Then if in case you're going to the doctor, polio, this vaccine is made from weakened microbes, right? I just learned it in a science lesson. You all can be like that. And the next one is there are vaccines which have been made from killed microbes. Again, marichayagin hadannewa. Then are weakened microbes කියන මොනවාද? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ active නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ weak කරලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? එතකොට මේක they have been made out of killed microbes. The microbes who have been killed, okay? So cholera, influenza, typhoid, ඒවට හදන vaccines හදන්නේ කොහොමද? From killed microbes. And The other thing is toxins of microbes. Microorganisms lage agge thiyena chemicals වලින්ම තමයි ඒක හදන්නේ. Toxins වලින්. Tetanus, diphtheria are like that. Another thing is vaccines made from body parts of microbes using genetic engineering. With the usage of genetic engineering, vaccines are produced by using the body parts of microbes. Microorganisms වගේ එක body parts use කරලා තමයි vaccines හදන්නේ. Hepatitis B වගේ. What is genetic engineering, children? So genetic engineering is basically, you alter the makeup of DNA, the genes of a specific organism in order to make something new. Okay, that is genetic engineering. Okay, so the next one is producing antitoxins. You know what toxins are? Toxins can harmful eva. In order to combat those diseases, you make antitoxins. Biochemical substances produced by pathogenic bacteria that which harm the host's activity are known as toxins. What are toxins? So host කියන්නේ ලෙඩේ තියෙන කෙනා. දැන් හිතන්නකෝ මට bacterial infection එකක් එනවා නම් I'm the host. My body is the host. Okay? And just imagine there is a bacteria here. This bacteria is the pathogen. ලෙඩේ බෝ කරන bacteria එක මේ. And I'm the host. Okay? So some sort of biochemical substances will be produced by this bacteria which is harmful for me. The manne host not a harmful එක. Okay? And what will happen to me? Mage activities again, mage metabolic activities will be something could happen. Okay, something bad could happen. Why? Because of the biochemical substances which have been caused by this bacteria. හරිද? එතකොට මෙයා මේ හදන substance වලට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ toxin කියලා. මේ toxin හින්දා තමයි me as the host I suffer. Okay? So antitoxins, why are they being used? Why? Because they are synthesized using these toxins by removing its toxic components. Dang, මේ bacteria ඉන්නනේ pathogenic bacteria. එයාගේ toxins නැත්නම් එයා ඔය මට harm කරන biochemical substances තියෙනවා. අන්න ඒවා වල තියෙන අපි තුමුකෝ එයාගේ තියෙනවා කියලා මේ toxins. ඒ toxins වල තියෙන toxic components අයින් කරලා තමයි antitoxins හදන්නේ මාව හොඳ කරන්නේ. එයාගේ toxic කියන්නේ හොඳ නැති parts ටික අයින් කරන toxic components ටික අයින් කරන. Just imagine you have a friend, okay? Let's say your friend's name is Anne, or yeah, okay? Your friend's name is Anne, okay? And she's a really good friend, but the thing is, she has some bad traits as well, bad characteristics as well. Let's say she's all good, she's really helpful, she is really, she really loves you and all. But the thing is, she always eats your food. අර කෑම ගෙනාම ඉස්කෝලේ කන්න ඔගේ කෑම කනවා. ඒක කියලා හිතන්න. So you are really pissed, you are really angry because දැන් ඔයාලට කන්න නැහැ, ඔයාලට බඩගිනි ඔයාගේ කෑම එක ඔක්කොම යාළුවා කනවා. හරි යාළුවගේ කෑම එකක් කළා ඔයාගේ කෑම එකක් කනවා. But then other than that, she's really good. She's really helpful, with she helps you with your studies, and she's always there for you whenever you need her. She's a real friend, like that. But the only thing is, when it comes to the interval, she eats all her food and your food as well. Okay, so now you're hungry. That's the only bad characteristic. Okay, so if you take out that feature out of her, if you take that characteristic out of her, then she'll be a good person, right? So likewise, then ඒ වගේ අර බැක්ටීරියා එක තියෙනවානේ, එයාගේ toxin එකේ pathogenic bacteria ගේ toxins තියෙනවානේ. ඒ toxins වල තියෙන toxic components ටික අයින් කරනවා. Then ඒක use කරන්න පුළුවන් antitoxin එකක් විදිහට. ඒ වගේ තමයි. Just imagine ඔගේ යාළුවාගේ අර කලිටි ටික විතරක් අයින් කරලා දානවා. හරි කමන්නේ නැහැ. එයා තනියෙන් කෑම කනවා, මගේ කෑම එකක් කනවා. But still එයා හොඳයිනේ. කියලා you forget that part, you just remove that part. Now that friend is a good friend. Okay? So the same applies here. That is what's been used with the tetanus vaccine. So the toxic components are removed from the toxins of the pathogen. Okay, and next one is applications of microorganisms in industries. Various strains of microbes are used for research and economic benefits. Using microorganisms in industrial activities for economic benefits is known as industrial microbiology. So industrial microbiology children using microorganisms in order to do the activities which are related to the industry. Industrial activities කරන්න microorganisms use කරනවා නම් industrial microbiology කියලා තමයි ඒක කියන්නේ. හරිද? And why do you use it for economic benefits? හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ ආර්ථිකමය විදිහට benefits ගන්න තමයි මේ microorganisms use කරන්නේ. You can save some kind of money if you use microorganisms. There are instances like that. So some industries are dairy products, yogurt, curd, cheese, butter. In order to produce them, you need a microbial culture, produce biogas, metal extraction, products based on plant fibers, producing alcohol, producing vinegar, bakery industry. So we'll be talking about it now here. Yeah, there are some microorganisms here. I don't think you have to keep in mind everything, but dairy products just try to keep in mind. Okay, alcohol is produced by Saccharomyces cerevisiae, vinegar by Acetobacter aceti. Keep that also in mind. Okay, the vinegar microorganism. Bakery industry, Saccharomyces cerevisiae again. Yogurt, cheese, curd, butter, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, Streptococcus thermophilus. Biogas, Methanococcus and Methanobacterium. Plant fibers, Bacillus coccurus, Bacillus comisi. Metal extraction, Aciditheobacillus peroxidans and Theobacillus peroxidans. Those are the microorganisms which are being used in most of the industries which are mentioned here. So let's move on to the part where we have to learn about producing biogas. Okay, so let's read that paragraph first. A mixture containing organic materials such as straw, cow dung, water is used to produce biogas. Now, how is biogas produced? Biogas කොහොමද හදන්නේ? Mixture එකකින්. මේ mixture එකේ තියෙන්නේ full organic materials. And what are the organic materials which are being used? Straw, cow dung, and water. With the use of these three components, biogas can be used. Okay, now there's a picture of how people produce biogas commercially. And anaerobic bacteria such as Methanococcus react on the organic surfaces and produce biogas. Now, just because those three components are there, you can't, you can't produce biogas. Now, for an example, imagine children, you have the pen, you have the exam paper, you have a good literacy level, where you can read and write well. Now we are in the exam hall. Okay, now you have the paper, and then you are being asked, who is the type of microorganism which is being used? Who are the two types of microorganism bacteria who are being used in order to produce cheese and yogurt? Now, to write that answer, just because you have the pen, just because you have the paper, just because you are sitting in the examination hall, you can't write that answer. You can't write a correct answer for that. You have to study. You have to know the fact that the two microorganisms who are being used to produce cheese, butter, curd, and yogurt are Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. You have to know that fact. Then only you can write the answer for that question. Okay? You have to know the two types of microorganisms which are being used, Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. Likewise, just because you have the organic materials and the required mixture, which has been composed of straw, cow dung, and water, you can't make biogas. For that, you need the anaerobic bacteria named as methanococcus. Who are anaerobic bacteria? Anaerobic bacteria are the bacteria type who can live without oxygen. Okay, without respirating oxygen. So methanococcus should react on the organic surfaces in order to produce biogas. And biogas mainly consists of methane gas. Methane gas can CH4, carbon H4. Therefore, it can be used as an energy source. Biogas is also used as an energy source as well. So the other industry, metal extraction. The most simple and effective technology used for the metal extraction from low-grade ores by the use of microbes is known as bioleaching. Again, low-grade ores වලින් metals extract කරන එකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ bioleaching කියලා. Low-grade ores කියන්නේ මොනවද? Ores කියන්නේ children, it's a kind of a rock. Okay. Sometimes these rocks have different metals. Okay, metals such as uranium, copper, and metals like that. Low grade ores the percentage of those metals is less. It's a small it's a small percentage. Low grade ores percentage kaduයි. Metals percentage kaduයි. අනේ ඒ වගේ ඒවා වලින් metals simply and very effectively you can extract with the use of a very simple and effective technology known as bioleaching. For this, we need microorganisms, and two types of metals that have been extracted with the use of microorganisms in bioleaching are those two metals are uranium and copper. Okay, and milk-based products. Now that is a really easy one because I've been telling you all that from the beginning, because to make yogurt we need curd, cheese, and yeah, those stuff you need bacteria. Yeah, let's just go through this activity. What do you need? Pure cow's milk, yogurt sample for culture. Again, Parana yogurt ekapodi culture we need sugar, gelatin, a pan to boil milk, some plastic cups, and a thermometer. Okay, what are you going to do first? First, you're going to heat the cow's milk for 15 to 30 minutes in a temperature between 88 degrees Celsius and 95 degrees Celsius. First, you boil it, you heat it, and then you remove the cream. Okay, here, second step, remove the cream. Then you add sugar and gelatin, like the picture shows. Then you add culture yogurt sample, again, කලින් හදපු කලින් තිබ්බ එකක් in small amount in 60 degrees Celsius temperature and mix well. Okay, you add some culture yogurt sample into the milk and then you mix it well. Next, what you do is you put the mixture into plastic cups. Now this mixture you have to put it into some plastic cups and then keep the mixture for 6 to 7 hours in the temperature between 40 degrees Celsius and 45 degrees Celsius. Then what do? You cover the cups. You put it inside the refrigerator under 4 degrees Celsius. So these are the steps. Let's go through it again. First, what you do? You heat the cow's milk. You remove the cream out. You put the gelatin and sugar into this. Then you put some previously made culture yogurt sample to the milk. Mix it well. You then what you do? You put it into plastic cups and keep the mixture for 6 to 7 hours in the temperature between 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. And then you cover the cups with the lid and then you put it inside the refrigerator under a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius. Okay. Okay. When boiling, unfavorable bacteria in milk get destroyed. Now what happens? First, we told that we are going to boil it. We are going to heat it. Okay. What is the use of it? අය අපි හැම කරන්නේ because we want to kill the unfavorable bacteria. කියන්නේ ඇඟට හොඳ නැති දැන් අපි ඔය කන්න නෑනේ, we're going to consume it, we're going to drink or eat, you know, we're going to consume those products, right? So why do you boil it? Because you have to take the unfavorable bacteria away. You know, we have to destroy it. ඒකනේ අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට උණු වතුර නිවල බොන්නේ. උණු වතුර නිවල බොන්නේ කේන්ති යන්න නැති වෙන්නම නෙවෙයිනේ. Okay, you do it, you boil water to destroy the unfavorable bacteria. Okay, and then what happens is you add lactobacillus and streptococcus, which have been used as culture in producing yogurt. ඒ දෙක add කරනවා. ඔන්න දැන් bacteria add කරන්නේ. අපි අන්තිමට මේ කන්නේ bacteria තියෙන කයම, because we need them. You have to eliminate, you have to destroy the unfavorable bacteria and add the good favorable bacteria. Okay, they turn lactose into lactic acid. So with the help of lactobacillus and streptococcus, a reaction occurs where lactose is being converted into lactic acid. Since it creates an acidic medium, then lactose lactic acid will convert on. Now what is the medium? It's an acidic medium. අම්ල ගතියක් තියෙන acidic medium එකක් තියෙන. So what happens? Growth of other microorganisms get retarded. Unfavorable microorganisms that grow in that. It gets retarded means it becomes, you know, reduced. Other microorganisms cannot grow inside these products. And enhanced preservation, which means you can keep it for a longer time. That is why we have the expiry date of yogurts for at least 1 month or 3 weeks. Why? Because we have added streptococcus and lactobacillus, streptococcus thermophilus and lactobacillus bulgaricus into the yogurt, so that they could convert lactose into lactic acid, which is going to give a acidic medium to the culture, and that will, the consequence of that is, you know, that results in a retardation of unfavorable microorganisms. So because of that, you can keep the food, the yogurt, for a long time, and also you keep it inside the refrigerator normally. You know, that is also a very good strategy where you could actually retard the bacterial growth. Okay, so yeah, now we're going to talk about products based on plant fibers. Plant fibers are used for various products, and these fibers are separated by using bacteria. Coconut, hemp, palmyra, and agave plants are used to get fiber. The compound pectate, which is among the fibers, keep them bound together. The pectinase enzyme, which is produced by the relevant bacteria, helps to separate these fibers by digesting pectate. Okay, children, now what happens here is very easy. Now plant fibers we are use for a lot of products. Okay, and some of the the plants are coconut, hemp, palmyra, and agave. You know, those plants are used. The plant fibers of these plants are being used to manufacture various products. Okay, now the thing is plants wala fibers තියෙනවානේ. ඒවා එකට මෙහෙම දැන් අපි let's take the 5 fingers of my hand. Okay, so now just imagine these are the fibers. මේ fibers මෙහෙම plant එකේ එකට එකතු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඇයි? Because of a compound called pectate. Pectate කියලා compound එකක් ඉන්න the fibers in the plant are bound together. But now what do we what do we want to do? What should we do? We have to break the bonds in between these fibers in order to separate them. The angle tika mehම අත්තම bound වෙලා නම් තියෙන්නේ මේ plant fibers කියලා හිතන්නකො. දැන් ඒව separate කරන්න ඕනේ අපිට. How can we separate? By using a bacteria. Now, how does this bacteria help in separating these fibers? This bacteria puts out an enzyme known as pectinase. This enzyme digest pectate. Then plant fibers, they have been bound together because of a compound known as pectate. Again, the compound name is named as pectate is what which keeps these fibers bound together. Okay, so now what can we do? We can use a bacteria which puts out this enzyme known as pectinase enzyme, and that enzyme can nicely separate the fibers. How? By digesting the compound pectate. How the pectate digest කරනවා pectinase enzyme එකෙන්. Pectinase enzyme is how the එළියට දාන්නේ? The bacteria. That is why microorganisms are being used for the products based on plant fibers. Okay, now we're going to talk about conserving environment. I told you what conserving the environment means. You know, you are using it without polluting it. You are using it so that the next generation could also use it. Okay. The technology which has been used to remove the environmental pollutants using these microorganisms is bioremediation. Bioremediation क्या you use microorganisms in order to remove the pollutants. Pollutants are what? Pollutes an environment. You use microorganisms to remove the environmental pollutants, and what will happen? It will result in conservation of the environment. So this specific technology where you use microorganisms in order to remove the environmental pollutants is known as bioremediation. So now there are 4 main instances. One is children. They have been used to decompose organic waste matter in polluted water. Polluted organic waste you can use. The next one is there is a bacteria named as Pseudomonas, a kind of bacteria which is released onto the ocean water for the decomposition of oil layers on the ocean, and enzyme released by these microorganisms decomposes the hydrocarbons in the oil. Okay, so when just imagine a ship is going, okay, and this ship is having containers of oil. What happens? So now how can you clean up the ocean? With the use of bacteria like Pseudomonas. How does it help? How does this bacteria named Pseudomonas help in decomposing the oil layers on the ocean? Because this Pseudomonas bacteria, it releases an enzyme which can decompose the hydrocarbons in oil. Oil වල තියෙන hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons කියන්නේ මොනවාද? ඒවා වල තියෙන්නේ hydrogens and carbons only. HC elements මේවා කියලා කියන්නේ products කියන්නේ hydrocarbons. It has only hydrogens and carbon atoms. So ඒවා decompose කරන්න පුළුවන් with the help of the enzyme that is being secreted by Pseudomonas. Okay, that is how they decompose the oil layers on the oceans. Next one is heavy metals such as chromium, lead, and mercury. The symbols in between the next to the specific metals are the symbols which are being expressed in the periodic table. Okay. So chromium වලට කියන්නේ Cr කියලා, lead වලට කියන්නේ you say Pb, mercury is Hg. Okay, so they have their specific words. You will be learning it very soon. They are released to the environment from different industries that you all know. Okay, why does the environment gets polluted most of the time? One factor is because of the chemicals, harmful effluents which are being secreted, which are being released to the environment because of industries. So these 3 metals, these 3 heavy metals, these are very popular metals which are being released to the environment. Okay, so this polluted water is sent through a tower which contains bacteria to remove these toxic heavy metals from water. Now what can we do? We can send this polluted water which has heavy metals such as chromium, lead, and mercury through a tower, and that tower has bacteria. හරිද? ඒ towel එකේ bacteria තියෙනවා. ඒ towel එක ඇතුළේ මෙයා ඇතුළෙන් යවන්නේ. So this bacteria can remove these toxic heavy metals from water. And the other thing is it is used in producing biodegradable plastics, plastics that are decomposed by bacteria. Okay. We have discussed the favorable impact of microorganisms. So we have talked about advantages of microorganisms. So based on these features we are going to talk about right now, microorganisms are used in economically important large-scale productions. In order to get a benefit from money aspect, we use microorganisms. කලින් microorganisms network කරලා අපිට let's say ලක්ෂයක් යනවා නම් අපිට 50000කින් 60000කින් කරන්න පුළුවන් microorganisms use කරලා. ඒ වගේ amount එකකින්. I just took that as an example, so that's what it says. Okay. What are the features of the microorganisms which helps in that? One is, children, their biological processes occur very rapidly and fastly, as their growth rate and metabolic rate is high. So that is, if you do something without microorganisms, it will take so much of time. Okay, but if you use microorganisms, it can be done so very fast. It can be done rapidly because the biological process and processes more because the growth rate and the metabolic rate it's really high. In the you can do it very rapidly because if you use microorganisms. Okay, that is why we use microorganisms, because of their rapid growth rate and metabolic rate. Various strains or varieties of microbes exist that are capable of acting and multiplying on various substances. Yeah, just imagine you use just a very small sample of microorganisms. Just imagine you use a very small sample of microorganisms. Now you want to separate the fibers in the plant. You want to destroy the pectate compound, and you need this pectinase enzyme. Okay, you can just use a very small sample of microorganisms, but at the end of the process there can be a large amount. Why? Because they can multiply itself, right, on various substances. It's going to multiply. And the next one is, since microorganisms possess simple genes, they can be easily used for genetic engineering. Hence, microbes are often used for modern genetic engineering. Okay, we actually talked about it. Okay, remember we talked about it when we were talking about so this bio-leaching, bioremediation, everything is related to that. Okay, and this vaccines made from body parts of microbes using genetic engineering. So genetic engineering is used. Okay, why can microorganisms be used for modern genetic engineering? Because the structure, their genes are very simple, not like us. They don't have complex or complicated structures. Okay, next one is, majority of the microorganisms, they can be obtained at a very low rate or free of charge from the environment. So මේගොල්ලන්ව free අපිට ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. එක්කෝ we can get them at a very small amount, price, at a very small price. Okay, or else they can be free, like totally free, because there are a lot of microorganisms everywhere in the environment, so it will be totally free with zero cost, or else at a very low rate, small amount. Okay, small price, low price. Though large amount of energy is required for the industries, a very small amount of energy is required when you use microbes use karadi. You don't want a large amount of energy. So most of the industries cause heavy environmental pollution and serious environmental deterioration can environment damage damage in the environment, that is environmental deterioration. The industries with microbes cause minimal environmental damage. So when you use microorganisms, there won't be much there won't be much damage to the environment. Okay. So now we're going to talk about, this is all about the adverse effects of the microorganisms. So there's just a few pages more. Causing diseases. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, they cause diseases. The microorganism who can cause the disease. Disease එකක් හදන්න පුළුවන් potential එක තියෙනවා. හරිද? The microorganism who can cause the disease, who has the, let's say the talent, okay, who has the potential. It's not a talent, but let's say because it's a simple word, who has the potential of causing a disease is not a pathogen. දැන් ලෙඩේ හදන කෙනා pathogen. Okay? එතකොට ලෙඩේ අරගෙන යන කෙනා දැන් හිතන්නකෝ. දැන් මෙයා තමයි බැක්ටීරියා. මෙයා තමයි pathogen. මෙයා තමයි ලෙඩේ හදන්නේ. මෙයාව මට අරගෙන එන කෙනා තමයි vector කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මම තමයි host නම් මට නම් ලෙඩේ හැදෙන්නේ. මට ලෙඩේ අරගෙන එන කෙනා vector. Mosquitoes and flies, මැස්සොයි මදුරුවයි ගොඩක් කරලා they are vectors. Why? ඒගොල්ලෝ ලෙඩ බෝ කරනවානේ. ඒකනේ මැස්ස වහෙන්න කැමරලා තියන්න එපා කියන්නේ. Why do parents and elders, why do they ask us to close the meals every time if you're not eating? Because flies can come and, come, okay, and then they can spread diseases. You can get diseases, you can get diarrhea even. So that is why we have to protect the food from mosquitoes and flies and protect ourselves as well. So host is the organism who provides its body inside or outside as the substrate to growth of the pathogen. So if I'm getting the disease, I'm the host. Okay. Viruses act as the pathogen for dengue virus. Then if you take dengue virus, who is the pathogen? ලෙඩේ හදන්නේ කවුද? virus එක. Who are the vectors? Then dengue virus එක, dengue disease එක virus හදුවට කවුද ඒක මිනිස්සුන්ට ගෙනල්ලා මේම කරන්නේ? mosquito. Mosquito තමයි vector. Okay. So host කවුද? the man. මනුස්සයා. Because the symptoms appear on the man. Okay. So let's talk about the diseases. These infections can be occurred with the help of air, water, food, vectors, and contact. And yeah, so there are the 4 pathogens are there: virus, bacteria, protozoa, and fungi. Diseases: cold, dengue, AIDS. Cold, how does it spread from air? If I sneeze, okay, and I have cold, someone else can get it. So that's the same with COVID-19 coronavirus as well. That's why we are being advised to wear masks. And so when I sneeze here and I have cold, and if there's someone in front of me and that person is getting contacted, how does the pathogen who was inside me enters into my friend's body? Through the respiratory system. Another one is dengue. The organism or the method of spread is mosquitoes. How? By mosquito bites. AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So the method of spread is blood and other fluids of an infected person. So if someone has AIDS and let's say this person gets an injection, okay, and the same injection, the same syringe is being used to give a vaccine to a healthy person. But now that syringe was being inserted into the person with AIDS, right? So if you use the same thing in order to inject, in order to give a vaccine to a healthy person, that person could also get AIDS. So blood and other fluids of an infected person can be a cause, is how AIDS spread. So through sexual contacts or blood transfusion. Okay. Bacteria, tuberculosis, method of spread is air and through respiratory system. That is how the pathogen enters the body. Typhoid fever from polluted food and vectors such as housefly. How does the pathogen enters the body? How? Through the digestive system with food. ඒ කැමින්ද තමයි හැදෙන්නේ. Protozoa, malaria, mosquitoes through mosquito bite, amoebic dysentery, polluted water and food through digestive system. So amoebic dysentery means, children, you get the symptoms are diarrhea. And amoebic dysentery can a protozoan parasite you get it because of a protozoan parasite named antamoebic histolytic. Okay, and so එයා හින්දා තමයි හැදෙන්නේ. And the symptoms are diarrhea. Okay, amoebic dysentery වලට. And leishmaniasis, vectors such as sandfly. So it is also, it occurs because of a parasite, a protozoa, leishmaniasis. Now who spreads it? A sandfly. Sandfly is the method. It spread වෙන්නේ එහෙම. So it can be spread, like it can be, the pathogen can enter the body through open wounds on the skin. Okay. So fungi, pityriasis, contact, so both rashes and pityriasis, contact of an infected person or through clothes of an infected person through skin. That is why we have been advised not to use the same towel. Okay, so you have to have a separate towel for each one of each person in the house. Okay, so pityriasis කියන්නේ පිටේ නිකන් රතු පාට wounds දාලා අන්න එහෙම වෙනවා. Okay, කියන්නේ rash එකක් වගේ තමයි ඒක රතු පාට දැනෙන. Okay. The bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis is used as a biological control to destroy the larval stages of dengue mosquito. So it's a small part where they have given this bacterium is used in order to destroy larval stages of dengue mosquitoes. So if you see mosquitoes are being, they're going to breed, they are the process of, there's a tire which has water and there are mosquitoes. And if you think it's the larval stage, so you can put the bacterium called as Bacillus thuringiensis in order to destroy that. Okay. So leishmaniasis is a disease caused by a protozoan. This is what happens when you get it. It is spread by the bite of sandfly, which acts as the vector. The protozoan can enter through skin ulcers. Skin ulcers are open sores kind of things, wounds. Then it infects the skin, mouth, nasal path, skin ulcers, fever, reducing blood cells, red blood cells, enlarging liver are the symptoms of leishmaniasis. Okay. So now we are coming to the last two pages of this lesson. So we were talking about the diseases caused by microorganisms to the animals, but we should not forget about plants, because when it comes to science, plants play a huge role, because plants are also known as living organisms. Okay, there are three main diseases caused by microorganisms to the plants: powdery mildew disease, lead blight, and wilting. Powdery mildew disease is a disease caused by a fungus. And what are the parts of the plants which are being affected by this disease? The leaves, the stems, the flowers, and the fruits of the plant, they are being affected by this disease. Okay. Appearing of white or gray color powdered material is the main symptom of infected parts, and this disease can damage every part of the tree. So figure 1.9 make grapes. What happens is there could be a white or gray color of, or a powder powdery material. So that is the main symptom, and this could also damage the whole disease if it gets spread, and it gets spreads normally. So this has been caused by a fungus. Okay. Next one is lead blight. So lead blight example they have given potato here in the picture. Potato plant is commonly affected by this disease, and it is also being caused by a fungus. Brown spots can be seen on the leaves, and later they turn into black. So what is the first symptom you can, which is vivid, which can be seen because of lead blight? Brown spots, you can see them, brown spots on the leaves, and with time it turns to black. And then what happens is the whole tree the whole tree gets affected by the disease. Okay. Next one is wilting. Wilting is, you all know it. Wilting can so children, powdery mildew disease is being caused by a fungus. Lead blight is caused by a fungus. Wilting is caused by a fungus or bacteria. Okay. The xylem of the plant which transports water throughout the tree gets affected from this disease. Now, what's crucial here is, you know what a xylem tissue is, right? A xylem tissue is the tissue which transports water throughout the tree. Okay, xylem tissue තමයි වතුර ගෙනියන්නේ plant එකනේ roots වලින් absorb කරාම උඩට යවන්නේ ඔක්කොම වෙන්නේ because of the xylem tissue. Phloem tissue කියන්නේ මොකද? I'm sure you all know it, okay? Phloem tissue is the tissue which is being used to transport minerals throughout the body. So it's inside the plant, like we have tissues, plant have tissues. Xylem tissue is being used to transport water, whereas the phloem tissue is being used to transport minerals throughout the body. So now what happens in wilting is that the xylem of the plants which is being used to transport water throughout the body gets affected. Now what happens? What happens when the xylem tissue gets affected? The xylem will not function properly. Okay, because that had got damaged, and because of these fungi and bacteria, the xylem tissue gets affected. So now the water cannot be transported efficiently and effectively. Okay, the xylem does not function properly due to damage. That's what I told. Therefore, the whole plant gets withered due to poor supply of water. Okay, so does not matter how much you pour water. Does not matter how much of water you pour into the plant in order to make it alive again, but no, it will die, it will get withered because the issue is there internally. Now just let's for an example, let's take children. Okay, let's say that there's some kind of an issue inside the body. No matter how things you do externally to the body, I want to just imagine this. Okay, now we have a disease inside the body. Okay, and the disease is let's say maybe bleeding from the gums, something like that. Okay, now you think, okay, this happened because I knocked my mouth on the wall, something like that. What you do is you apply a cream, you apply a medicine there, and you think, okay, it will get cured, I'll heal by tomorrow. You will think like that, but will it happen? No, because the issue is there internally. There's an issue inside, but we don't know. For that, you have to go to the doctor, do a scan, consult a doctor and get to know what the real issue is. So likewise, now even if you pour a lot of water to the plant, chances are more that the plant would get withered or die, because the issue is with the xylem tissue, because it's fungi or bacteria affects the xylem tissue which transports water. Okay. I'm going to talk about food spoilage, which is really common, and I'm so sure you have at least seen one type of food which has been spoiled by microorganisms, right? At least one slice of bread, at least something, I think y'all have seen. Okay? Microorganisms multiply on food as food has the necessary factors for the growth of microorganisms. So there are some factors which microorganisms need in order to grow, and those factors are there nicely in food. So that is why they grow and multiply when they are on food. What microorganisms do is they convert the components of the food into the they convert the components of the food into unfavorable materials, or they add toxic materials to food. Now what they do is, children, just because microorganisms are on food, nothing happens. But the thing is, what these microorganisms do, they convert the components of the food. In some components they change, they convert, and what happens? Now they become unfavorable to us, or else they add toxins to the food. They add toxic materials in their body to the food. That is why food gets spoiled and we get diseases like amoebic dysentery, or more than that, diarrhea. You get it because of that. Okay. Due to this reason, the nature of the food is changed. Obviously, I think you have seen it. How it looks, how it smells, how it tastes, everything, the odor, the color, the form, the shape, like everything is getting changed, right? When the food is being spoiled. So children, there could be two types of changes that could happen: physical changes and chemical changes in food. Because of microorganisms, the physical nature of the food could change, the chemical nature of food also could be changed. So this change, the process is known as food spoilage. The change of physical nature and the chemical nature of food, and by changing that makes us, it makes the food unfit for consumption. Okay, it makes unfavorable to us. So that process is food spoilage. Okay, so now these are some fruits, bread, vegetables, and milk. Okay, these are the two types: physical, chemical. Physical changes are food becomes soft. Again, just imagine may fruit again it will go inside, right? Change of the color will be changed. The taste will be changed for sure, and change of the odor. Okay. The smell also changes. Okay. The chemical changes are fermentation of carbohydrates. So when the chemical nature of carbohydrates change, you call it fermentation. Proteins, you call it as putrefaction, and lipids, you call it rancidity. Okay, fermentation of carbohydrates, putrefaction of proteins, rancidity of lipids. So there are some factors affecting food spoilage. Some are internal, some are external factors. Internal factors are the amount of nutrients they have, sometimes the moisture, and sometimes the biological structure of the food. It's food you can internally structure. External factors could be environmental temperature, just because just imagine there's a type of food where you have to keep it inside the refrigerator, but you're keeping outside on the table for about 2 nights. Okay, so what happens? It will get spoiled. And environmental humidity. What do you mean by humidity? Is the moisture in the environment. And the gases available in the environment. So those are external factors that could affect food spoil. And another adverse effect is the fact that these microorganisms are being used as biological weapons. The toxins produced by microorganisms or harmful pathogenic bacteria or viruses are used for military purposes and are known as biological weapons. Now, some toxins which are being secreted by microorganisms or harmful pathogens like bacteria and viruses, the toxins, they are toxins, they are being used in order to make biological weapons. Okay, so they have been used to make weapons for military purposes. One example is Bacillus anthracis, the causative agent of anthrax disease. It is considered as the most harmful biological weapon at present. So one such biological weapon which is being manufactured, which is being produced with the use of harmful pathogenic bacteria, is bacteria virus. So if a weapon is being manufactured, is being produced with the help of harmful pathogenic bacteria or viruses, then, and if it is used for military purposes, then it is known as a biological weapon, right? So the causative agent, so the microorganism which cause this anthrax disease, Bacillus anthracis, so that specific biological weapon is known as the most harmful biological weapon, at present, for now. Okay, these biological weapons are very much harmful to human and other animals and also plants. So these are very harmful. So there are three harmful effects we discussed here. What are those? Diseases which have been caused for animals and plants, food spoilage, and the applications of microorganisms as biological weapons, because these biological weapons, they are very harmful to humans and other animals and also plants. Okay, so let's go through the summary quickly. Microorganisms are the unicellular or multicellular organisms which cannot be seen clearly with naked eye. Who are the multicellular ones, children? What are the two groups which has unicellular and multicellular organisms? Both algae and fungi. Okay, so bacteria, virus, protozoa, they are unicellular fully, totally. The main microorganisms are bacteria, fungi, algae, protozoa, because viruses have living and non-living characteristics, but still we study about them in the field of microbiology. And also microorganisms live within all the ecosystems with favorable environmental conditions and also in the extreme conditions. They have been used in various fields such as agriculture, medicine, industry, and for environmental conservation as well. And on the other hand, there are disadvantages or harmful effects or adverse effects that are being caused by microorganisms, such as food spoilage, diseases, and damage done to the economically important surfaces and use of microorganisms as biological weapons. So these are some adverse effects. So I really do wish I could meet y'all in person and teach you this lesson, but with the prevailing situation, we are unable to do it. So children, next week I'll be doing the second lesson, which is eye and ear. So it will be a very interesting and a very important lesson, because these are two main organs that we have. So we are going to learn about it, the structure, the function, the diseases, and everything related to that. So you have a very small homework, which is, after listening to this video, if there's anything you want to know from me regarding this lesson, regarding microorganisms, y'all can type it in the YouTube comment section. So don't be afraid. I'll happily answer to all the questions y'all ask from me. And the small homework is try to do this exercise. So next week, when I start to teach the second lesson, I'll start from this exercise related to microorganisms. So I'll be recapping this again. Okay. So please try to attempt these questions, which are not hard because everything is inside the book. So yeah. So children, have a nice day. Have a very nice week, and all the best for your future endeavors and for your studies. Also, don't forget, if there's anything you all want to ask from me, I would be really happy to help you out with it, to answer to all your questions. Okay, and keep in mind what I told y'all. Don't keep your food open, because now we all know what a microorganism is capable of. Okay, so we talked about the favorable effect and the unfavorable effects of them. So children, keep your food close and be safe. be happy, study well, win in life. That is the ultimate purpose of Road to A Plus, achieving excellence together. Okay, once again, I'm Rotaract Senuri Silva, and see you next week. Bye.